into this.
All right, let's do this.
Just do the white cards and just in order.
All right, Angel of Glory's Rise. Is that what we're gonna start with?
Yup. Enters the battlefield, exile all zombies, then return humans. Oh, this is one of the few cards I have seen because Travis Wu printed an article about like a block deck built around this thing.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's just
reverse zombie apocalypse.
right. Yeah. So
Except for like, it trumps zombie apocalypse all the time, and it's a creature itself.
yeah,
so
and it's a
better.
4/6 flyer.
Yeah.
Um,
Casually tacked on 4/6 flyer.
Yeah, well, Travis's deck, have you seen it? It's like
No.
it's like a bunch of just like generically good humans like Huntmaster and whatnot,
Okay.
and then Faithless Looting and this thing and Unburial Rights.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
You can't really Unburial Rights a zombie apocalypse, but
Yeah, that also true.
yeah.
But the thing that's kind of tilting about this card is that you exile all the zombies, so they can't just fight you with their own zombie apocalypse.
Right, which really would just be awesome.
Right, like you can't have like, so say like 10 years from now they print like Angels v Zombies,
Right,
like dual decks,
right.
and then like the rare is this and zombie apocalypse, and then just like the white deck would win every time.
It'd be Jace versus Chandra all over again. Yeah, so I mean, besides that block application, I don't see it breaking constructed, but limited it seems
you're
solid.
clearly in it to reanimate this.
Yeah, for sure.
Humans are definitely a better tribe than zombies.
Yeah, that's for
the
sure.
most part.
I mean, well, that was what was cool about Travis's deck is like it almost looks like block constructed frights,
Yeah,
which is a deck that I think
makes a lot of
is
sense.
like pretty underexplored. Like I like how that deck fights. Like I like what it tries to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I haven't played any block at all, and his deck is probably just awful
me
because
neither.
like it's Travis Wu, so he's just like brewing nonsense. But I mean, I definitely think that if this card were to make it into a deck, it would be a deck like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like obviously really good in limited, right?
Yeah, as foresight. Based on my limited experience, games drag out a while.
Okay. That's what I've heard. There's like a nut red deck draw, and a nut whatchamacallit, soul bond draw. But besides that, games kind of drag out.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, if you're just playing cards individually, the games will drag out.
mhm.
And it's like, I lost my match to unless we do artifacts. Like, yeah, I lost my match to an unbeatable piece of equipment.
Okay.
But yeah, but like the other games, I just won with like bonds. You've done the blue, like I had the blue 7-mana control magic.
Yeah, that thing is insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as good as it appears, but like it's still like pretty good.
Yeah. I can't imagine like a format where it's bad. Even like Zendikar, that card's gonna be good.
You still like slam it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Like this is like pretty good. Lot of humans.
Not so many zombies, but if you tag one, it's value.
Right.
All right. Angel of Jubilation.
This card has a lot of text.
Yeah, it does. It's also got a lot of white mana in its cost. Can't pay life or sack creatures to cast stuff. Alright.
Alright, so on its face value, you have like a Wiltleaf Leech. And that's the first card I compare it to.
Okay.
Like, you play, whenever you want, like, a Wiltleaf Leech, you want this card.
Right.
Like, so, like, in a white weenie deck, like, some other, like, it'll be, like, nice curve top, but, like, the problem is, like, it competes with Hero and Standard.
Yeah, and that card's real good.
Yeah, that card's much better than this is. So, like, Standard applications might be a little lacking.
I'm trying to think of stuff. It's like Mortipod and Birthing
Phyrexian
Pod
mana.
and Phyrexian Mana.
But
But it doesn't even like it shuts
Bristlebrand.
it shuts down uh, Mortipod and Birthing Pod. For Phyrexian, it just makes them cast it.
Right, but some decks can't.
That's true, if they're like gut shotting in blue white or whatever.
Yeah, dismembering,
Yeah,
etc., etc.
that's fair. Yeah, this seems like one of the cards that's just like, besides some niche application, like, what was the 3/4 angel for 4 that shuts
Oh,
down activated
Limvala?
abilities? Yeah, Limvala, like that that card was really good as like a 3 of in sideboards for a long time.
Yeah.
So like if there's a metagame where stuff like that is good, like I could see this being a sideboard card, but I can't see like building a deck where you're like, I want Angel Jubilation in it.
And the thing about Limvala is it was much better in like green-white type of decks.
Right.
Like the triple white is really restrictive here, especially with the mana we have in standard now.
Yeah.
Um, when you were playing Limvala, you had like your elves made. Well, I guess your elf still makes white mana now, but it's going to be very difficult to cast this in a green-white deck,
Yeah.
for example. This is pretty much strictly a mono white thing and strictly a uh, I feel like it's just gonna get pushed out by hero.
Yeah, and even once Hero rotates, like the next few sets would have to be pretty bad for this to like break through.
Yeah. I mean, it is a very powerful card, however.
It is,
I
but
feel
like,
like this is gonna be one of the cards that's like powerful but unplayed.
yeah, yep, I agree. I think that if it does see play, it's gonna be because of the second ability, not the first.
Interesting. I feel like it's going to be because of the first ability. Like you'll have to want the first ability.
Yeah, I mean, like you're gonna take advantage of it, but like people aren't gonna play this because it's an anthem. Like they're unless they reprint Spectral Procession or something. Like I don't think that the anthem is gonna be as good as like if Birthing Pod is really dominant or something like that.
Right, right. The other application, and this is really far fetched.
Hit me.
But it's very good and it has a lot of applications. The second line has a lot of applications in Legacy.
Force of Will and Fetch Lands for one.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, those are by itself. That's
Yeah, that's enough, I guess.
what else do you need?
Yeah, it's fair. I'm trying to think of what else it could actually hit. I mean, that rock deck that just got second.
Natural order.
Yeah, natural order. And that rock deck that just got second was playing Pod.
Yeah, that deck's something else.
Yeah, it is. Cabal Therapy and Dread Return.
Right.
I can't think of anything else.
So yeah, like I mean, this one is like, it's a stretch because yeah, 4 mana is kind of unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the second line has a lot of stuff going on. I mean, heck, Modern might be a place where the fetch land thing is real. Like I could see like some stupid like Leonin Arbiter deck.
Yeah, some like green-white hater deck wanting to play this.
Yeah.
And
Well, it couldn't even be green really because unless you're planning on not playing fetch lands.
why?
I mean, because like you don't want to fetch land. I guess that once you have fetch lands, like
This is probably like the top of your curve, right?
yeah. That's a good point. Probably don't need a fetch land or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it having applications there.
Yeah.
All right, Angel's Mercy. I'm not gonna dignify this with a response.
Yeah, next.
Angelic Wall.
It's a limited card.
I was gonna say for limited, right? This actually doesn't seem too bad from what I've seen, just because there's a lot of like grizzly bears and goblin pikers. Like the guys seem pretty small.
Yeah. Like sometimes like it's definitely good at what it does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could even see this like being fringe constructed in the right environment.
Mm-hmm.
This card is not that bad against zombies. Obviously,
Sure.
sideboard only.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, these are the types of cards that like made Block Constructed really fun. You'd always find these like terrible, quote unquote, unplayable cards.
Yeah, that
That
just
actually
filled
put
this niche role that like your deck really needed.
I remember Onslaught Block Constructed, Wall of Hope was that. It was like an 0/3 for 1 mana.
For a white that like
For a
gains
single
life
white
equal to
mana.
damage it's
Yeah.
dealt.
Right, so it just it was very good against goblins.
Did you know that that used to be in a dominant popper deck?
What, Wall of Hope?
Yep.
Or nice.
They would Pestilence Wall of Hope lock you.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a thing.
Nice.
Archangel.
I didn't know that was a dominant deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it was for like a month.
Interesting.
Yeah. Archangel, pretty sweet, like a really awesome finisher. See, plays offense and defense. You know, it has evasion. I don't know, I'm just like reading the card.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's basically a run of the mill, not a lot of text.
Mm-hmm.
Does exactly what you think it does.
Yep. Yep.
And
Seems sweet.
these white decks are absolutely in the market for these type of finishers.
Good to know. I mean, we are going from a wall to an awesome late game finisher.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, white decks are very much Angelic Walls and Archangel. I played white at the release event.
All right, sweet.
And so did almost all of my opponents.
All right, good to know.
Yeah.
This art sucks though.
It's whatever.
Just like there's like 2 other arts, right? And I like them both more. Whatever. Avacyn.
Avacyn Angel of Hope.
Is like, I guess, a reanimator target.
I don't see it as a reanimator target. I feel like if you are going to reanimate this, you can reanimate almost anything else.
Gristlebrand, Jin Cataxius, whatever.
Well, I feel like, yeah, in all formats now, because it's legal in all of them,
Yeah.
you have to ask yourself, why are you reanimating card X over Gristlebrand?
Yeah.
And right now, I just don't have a good answer for almost any target.
Yeah.
The only thing I could see is like some Frights decks in Standard might want to play some cards that they can cast.
Yeah, well, they're like a different type of animal. Like they're just
Right.
Sun Titan, whatever nonsense, because they have like Plan A, Plan B, you know.
But for that deck, that's a reason why. But like for like say a Legacy Reanimator deck where they're not casting any of the creatures they put in their deck,
Yeah, they're just
they
gonna
just should.
Jin
they should
Cataxius
go to-
or Gristlebrand.
The only argument for playing another creature is because they won't let you play more Gristlebrands.
Well, I mean, they let you play Jin Cataxius is.
I would actually just. I don't think I would ever Jin Cataxis over Gristlebrand.
Really?
Yeah.
You know that like reanimate costs you a lot of life, right?
Right. You know that you get a 7/7 life linker.
Yeah, it does.
That
It doesn't have haste or
unkillable.
anything, right?
Right, but like, here's the thing. Against some decks, you reanimate. Against some decks, like, the 7/7 life linker is unbeatable. And against the rest of the decks, the draw 7 is unbeatable. Like, what deck in Legacy can beat both a draw 7 and a 7/7 life linker?
Zoo.
Assuming you only get one of the other.
Zoo.
Like, yeah, like they can path it or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, Zoo's not a deck.
I mean, that's definitely true, but the real important thing to note about Avacyn though is its implications on the very important Momer Basic format.
Oh,
It is
yeah, it's an 8-drop. That's any 8-drop has to be scrutinized.
Yep. I mean, well, like H already like what everyone goes for, and this is better than almost all of them. So make the 8-drops even better.
Yeah, jeez. They just don't balance the set.
I know.
If they're getting
I know. It's like they don't even think about it. I know it's ridiculous to say, but
the fuck.
it's like they don't even consider it in the future league. Banishing Stroke. You put puts something on bottom. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a sword supply, like it's a turbo. It's an Oblivion ring, basically.
Right.
That's what you get. Except you can't get planeswalkers.
Ooh,
Um,
important.
so that's like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna standard it. It's also got this awkward. See, this is one of those like polarizing miracle cards, which just so overcosted.
Yeah, like if this costs 4 and didn't miracle, then like it's an actual magic card.
Yeah, but then what kind of decks do you build with Banishing Stroke in them? Like it's very difficult to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the other thing I don't like about this whole miracle thing is like, sure, Wizards introduced this miracle mechanic, which is polarizing, very variance based. I don't like it, blah blah blah. But like once you do it, they kind of just stand out. Like you could take every single miracle card out of the set, still have the rest of the set, and no cards would look out of place.
Yeah.
Like Miracle doesn't fit in with the rest of the theme. I feel like they just threw like however many Miracle cards there are, 15 or whatever, and just threw them in the set.
Well, they justified it.
Anything else?
They justified it with flavor, not with mechanics, right? Like not with.
Right, but you still have to play the cards.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean I'm with you, but
what are they gonna do? Like sit in your binder like all pretty like.
Yeah.
And also, it's fun story from the release event. You guys have done the green cards.
Yeah.
Okay, so my friend Taylor is in he's pretty behind. His opponent, who's green, has like 2 of the Yavimaya Worm with Soulbound Trample.
Yeah.
The guy that's a 5/5 on your turn.
Okay.
And he has a couple other creatures. He's got the green guy is significantly ahead on the board. And then the green guy is like, draw for my turn. Oh, it's a miracle. It's a Christmas miracle. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. Like, I feel like the miracle cards are cards that should allow you to come back from games. But I feel like so many of these cards, like I can see Banishing Stroke. It's going to be like, oh, this is going to favor the person that's just way ahead.
Yeah.
I hate the miracles that are much better when you're ahead.
Yeah, and I mean I definitely agree with that. I think that the removal ones specifically are really interesting because they have this like weird tension of if you're at like an even board, do you even want to miracle it?
I mean, if you don't, you lose literally 5 mana, which is a metric ton.
Yeah, but like if you're like at an even board, if you're at an even board where you both have like 2/2/4s or whatever, where like you just literally nothing can happen, then and you have like you both have 2 cards in hand that are obviously nothing because you would have cast it by now, and you both have 6 lands in play or whatever. I feel like
well, in that case, yeah, if you have the 6 land,
I feel like a lot of people there are going to miracle it just because it's a miracle.
Yeah, because they can and that's value.
Yeah, exactly. And even the people that don't miracle it, I know for sure I'm gonna get a lot of like very easy reads off of people that like Delver peek, at their card that could potentially be a miracle, and then think.
Right. You absolutely. That's the one thing about miracles that I kind of like, that there's so few miracles that it's pretty easy to understand when you might want to cast a miracle. You'll know every miracle in your deck. It's not like you're gonna have 4 different ones.
Right.
You have to think through iterations of each one.
Yeah, it's not like they're whatchamacallit. What was the last one? Flip cards. It's not like they're checklist cards where it's like if you don't mark it clearly, then every time you draw one, you have to like check and see which one it is.
Like, hold the card up to your hand.
Yeah.
Face or whatever. Um, yeah. So I feel like a lot a lot of people say I play just like super fast, just in general.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of it is just me knowing what I'm gonna do with any of the cards I draw.
Hmm.
Like I just spent while my opponent's going into the tank. I just think of like, you know, what I plan on doing and how the card I draw changes that.
Right.
And like I know in this format, I'm going to
Have that advantage over people that don't already
yeah,
have that like mental shortcut in place.
right. I mean, do a lot of thinking on your opponent's turns with if you don't want to give away miracle information, if you will.
Yep.
But I mean, for some people, they're just gonna cast miracles whenever they can.
Yeah.
So
It's a miracle, man.
yeah, Christmas miracle.
Builder's blessing. Whatever.
Yeah,
I'm sure it has some like sideboard application in limited or something, but
this card has not been good in a very long time.
it's yeah, they've printed a couple of cards like
This
this.
actual castle?
Didn't Castle cost 3?
No, it costs 4. Pretty sure. Let me see.
Oh, somebody posted in the chat. Yeah, your untapped creatures gain +0/+2. Attacking creatures lose this bonus. Awesome.
Yeah, here you go. Yeah.
Alright, well, I don't know. It is what it is. You have anything to say about Builder's Blessing?
No, I'm good.
Alright, Call to Serve. Enchant a non-black creature. +1/+2, and Flight, and Angelicism. Not exactly a Spectral Flight.
No. Yeah, like the angel ability is not very worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't very many cards that
Like
care
Tribal
about
Angel.
the angel. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Other than that, this is just a bad Spectral Flight, which is like an okay card.
Yeah. What was the other one? 2 mana +1/+2 in our not so recent past, like 5 years ago.
Indomitable Will, the one that had Flash.
Yeah, that one was sweet.
Yeah, that was a combat trick though.
And damage stacked.
Yeah, I forget which side that was from.
Kamigawa block maybe?
Yeah, that's right. That's more than 5 years ago, but yeah, it was in Kamigawa block.
Mm.
I'm old.
Yeah, me too. Cathar's Crusade. Whenever you're in the battlefield, put a counter on. It's like a inverse anthem type thing.
Yeah, like it's Door of Destinies for all of your creatures, I believe.
Yeah. It's
Something similar to that.
It's 100% for like token decks, right?
Right. The thing is like you have to cast your 5 mana card, and then you guys can go nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I think it needs to be like Army in a Can cards, not like, alright, now that this is down, like I'm gonna play my Angel of Jubilation or whatever, and
right. This is like very much a card that if Magic like for EDH when people start at 40 life.
Yeah.
If you needed to kill him real dead, this is a go-to card.
Yeah.
Or if you just like I could see this one like if your board's gonna stall unlimited too much. Like this is like a sideboard option for maybe like white on white mirror matches.
Sure.
Where
there's also like a bunch of
going to be a shit ton of creatures in play.
There's also like a bunch of momentary blink effects, right? Like maybe you could do something with that. I don't know. It seems like it has its applications, but like on the face of it, it's so expensive and then like doesn't impact the board for a turn, and then even the next turn, like depending on what your play is, might not even impact the board that much.
Right, like you might be paying 5 mana for a Glorious Anthem,
Yeah.
like with Suspend 1.
Right.
So.
Alright, take it as you will.
Yeah, so I mean, it can get like out of control.
Yeah, for sure.
But you don't need a card to get out of you
it's
don't need
super
this type
win
of card
more.
to get out of control.
Right.
Yeah, it's very much win more.
Cathedral Sanctifier. Oh, this was one of the cards in Travis's deck.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I guess.
Okay.
Whatever. I mean, it is what it is, right? Like it's
a lone missionary that is even worse in combat.
Yep.
But like, if you need to trade for a 1/1, I guess like.
Yeah, like it has its applications in limited as like a sideboard card against that aggressive Goblin Piker red deck. But like beyond that, I don't know. If you're like in a format with Ranger of Eos, you probably have like Martyr of Sands.
Yeah.
And if you're like trying to sideboard a red hate card, then there's like Core Firewalker and stuff.
Yeah, there's much better choices.
Yeah.
Than this guy.
Yeah, so it seems just like a limited sideboard filler card.
Yeah.
Although I mean I don't know how relevant Human is. Maybe.
I mean the thing is like the aggressive decks in standard, we're well past the age of Jackal Pups.
No, I mean in limited, like, because I don't want to main deck this
sure.
in limited, right? Like.
Yeah.
Unless I'm doing something tribal with it.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to just. Yeah, this is not value.
Yeah. All right, I'm over it. Cloud Shift.
Yeah, you're getting the two worst. This is the truth. You're actually getting the two worst deals in limited history.
One for one
and a healing salve.
But it's 2 for 1, so it's a good one,
both.
Right? Yeah. Cloud Shift. This is the blink.
This is the momentary blink for 1 mana. I think this is better than momentary blink. However, I think it'll see less play in like standard and stuff.
Yeah,
because the cards you have to blink are way
right. At the time of blink, we had Riftwind Cloudscape, Venser, Avalanche Riders,
Moldrifter. You got Revlock after a while.
Yeah.
You just got some like just insane blink targets. And I mean the whole like Moldrifter Shriekmaw thing with momentary blink was just insane.
Yeah. I can't even like think of cards that you can blink in standard that are worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean there's not even like a Seagate Oracle. Like it's the reason why Venser's unplayable. There's nothing to blink.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I understand there's a lot of this in this set. There's a lot of blink stuff in this set.
So they were probably super careful not to print
they just didn't want
Moldrifter.
To like comes into play stuff like like I don't know what like thematically it does. Like it does let you reset your soulbound creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, and your Undying guys.
It's a common. So it's an insane trick.
Yeah, it's a really good trick.
Especially with like some of the green soulbound creatures that are like pump effects,
right?
Or like one gives death touch,
right?
Stuff like that. But even then, like boards have to be pretty crowded for like soulbound shenanigans to do stuff.
Yeah, and for them to just like fall for it and have nothing. Although I'm always baffled at how people fall for things that have nothing. So,
right.
Yeah. Moving on. Commander's Authority. Oh, that's cool. I talked in my other review a bit about how I like the direction they're taking auras in this set. So for a long time, auras were just horrible and unplayable because there was
auras were of the call to serve quality.
Yeah, well, they were just like so bad, and there was so much bounce and removal. That it was just never worth it. And there were so many like instant speed combat tricks that were valuable that like it was never worth sorcery speeding anything.
Right.
And
damage stacked.
Right. And then they did a bunch that were like over the top, insane, like instantly win the game type stuff, and like that wasn't fun either. And
Like
then
stuff like Elephant Guide or
yeah, and
Middle of Cloak.
yeah, Armadillo Cloak and like Pollen Bright Wings
Okay.
and I don't know, just like expensive big ones that like won the game,
Yeah.
like Elder Mastery and weird
Hmm.
stuff like that. And then at the same time, they were also doing introducing like equipment, right? To because they realized that
Equipment,
auras,
yeah, that normal like uh value enchantments aren't really good value.
right? And so then they make equipment which then like outclasses auras, like makes auras almost
Yeah,
obsolete.
overnight.
Yeah, and then they like try and bring them back, and they do it in a way where they're all either I lose because I don't have an answer to his guy, or I like blow you out with my 2 for 1 and you're screwed.
Hmm.
And there's like no middle ground. But the way that they've done it recently, I really like because first of all, Undying makes auras good because you can put it on the front side of an Undying guy, and if they 2 for 1
Yeah,
you, then you have a
it,
bigger guy.
right. You guys getting bigger either way.
Right. And then with this one, with this set, the auras that I've seen are all super powerful effects, so it's worth risking. Oh, also in the same vein as Undying is hexproof. As much as annoying as it is to get your to get beaten by like invisible stalker, spectral flight or whatever, like
Super annoying.
that's like something that is good for auras. Even if it's bad for the game and bad for,
Right.
whatever, it's good for
Right.
auras. And then the way they're doing it now is they're making auras that are super powerful effects,
Hmm.
but are not instantly win the game.
Yeah, this is very much an aura that has to stay in play for like many, many
Right.
turns.
And ones that you aren't putting it on your biggest, best guy. Like, you're not putting this thing on, like, your 4
Yeah,
4 when you have
the ideal
your.
target for something like this is like Angelic Wall.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, the other ones are similar. There's, like, the red one gives it pinging, and the other one makes it, like, tap and something can't block this turn. And then there's blue one. I don't know. There were a bunch in. There were, like, 2 in blue, 1 in green,
Yeah,
1 in black. And it was. It's cool to see that because I think that obviously enchantments that are like I either instantly win or I'm super far behind aren't good for the format,
right.
and I don't want to get back to a place where they just straight up replace auras with equipment. But
I think there's room for both, and I think
yeah,
it is on stuff like this. Like this cannot be on an equipment.
yeah, exactly.
Um, that being said, I think this card is at least 2 mana overcosted.
2 mana, it could cost 4. Costing 3 would be a little
Presidents
scary.
have gone to cost 3,
Yeah,
and it
but
had synergy with a lot of cards, like any of the untapping creatures.
oh, that's true. There were untappers in that.
So it actually had synergy. It's like this just doesn't have synergy with stuff. This is just like you get it on face value. So I feel like this card is at least. I mean, it's a quality 2 mana overcosted.
It could cost 1 WW pretty safely.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even play it in every deck. In
Yeah,
fact, I wouldn't play it all that often.
you'd need a
And I hate
lot.
cards that are just like way overcosted.
Yeah,
Like for example, everybody's favorite card for the worst Magic card ever, like in their lifetime, Chimney Imp,
yeah,
is actually a very reasonable card at 3 mana.
yeah.
Like I would love to play Chimney Imp at 3 mana, and it's just like insulting to me as a player whenever they make cards that are just like just stupidly
You're
overcosted.
like personally offended.
Right. Like this card is perfectly safe at 3 mana, whereas a card we go up to this like Cathar's Crusade. If this card costs like 2 or 3 or whatever, it's absurd,
Yeah,
and you can't. you can't possibly cost this card correctly
I
to
think
make it like both interesting and not absurd.
right. I mean, I would rather them lean on this side just
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely. Don't get me wrong.
it's definitely safer and I think it adds more like it's more interesting for drafting and deck building because instead of just being like this card costs what it should cost and so it's good, it's more of a tension of like this card costs more than it should but the effect is still really good and like does my deck need it and
Right.
should I
Am I
sideboard
willing
it
to
in against
overpay for
X?
something?
Yeah. Uh, so
Well,
I don't mind
yeah,
that it costs a lot, but I mean you're definitely right. This thing could easily cost 3 and be completely fine.
right. Like I just like cards that aren't excessively overcosted.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that green thing that costs 10.
There's a green thing that costs 10.
Yeah, it's like reveal the top card of your deck.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay, the Genesis wave basically.
yeah, the horrible Genesis wave.
Well, I mean, if you play one, and the rest of your deck is permanents.
But like you can't get to 10 mana without using spells.
I mean, you can't get to 10 mana with spells now.
Well, I mean,
all the mana makers are permanents.
like even if you get to 10 mana, I'd rather wave for 7.
Sure. I mean, I'd rather put the whole deck into play.
I guess.
I like that card. I'm not gonna lie.
You would.
I've played that card at least once.
It's the ultimate tip card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Curse Break kills an enchantment. You gain some life.
I'd rather have Demystify every time.
Yeah.
I don't think a mana is worth 2 life.
Yeah.
I don't like overpay. Like, I like the new Phyrexia cards that did this stuff and made them lose a life because they didn't cost you anything.
Right.
Like the Psychic Barrier, the Glissa Scorn, the Vapor Snags. That stuff. Like, that stuff was nice. It didn't, like, you didn't Gets Verdict. You may have paid, like, basically Gets Verdict is double black instead of, colorless black.
Right. But it's also, like...
But you're still paying 2 mana and you're going to pay it in a monocolor deck for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really like...
I don't like paying extra mana
to gain life.
to gain life.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. But, like, I like
having Demystify effects.
Yeah, exactly. I like having specific stuff like this in a format, and I understand that they can't just make it better than the last one every time.
Yeah. I actually think they should just reprint more than they do. Like, why reinvent the wheel every time?
To sell packs.
Yeah. I mean, but, like, is Curse Break really selling packs?
I don't know, man.
That's
just like
I understand like your rares and like your basically your core of the set needs to be different and exciting. You shouldn't be like reprinting like I don't know, you shouldn't reprint like say like a Drolf's Messenger type card.
Right.
Which is like clearly a pinnacle of your set, but like you can go ahead and reprint the role players.
Well, I mean, what was the core set where they did that? Like M10 or M11, where they just did a ton of functional reprints with new names for no reason.
M10.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, and everybody was just furious that they had to like reacquire.
Right, but like I understand if you're doing like them in waves like that, because then it's like clear that they need to buy it the whole. They need to buy the new cards, but when you're putting one in when you're when you're renaming Demystify and putting it in or whatever,
yeah,
then it's a little
they did the M10 thing and it was, I honestly think that if Wizards didn't want to like readjust their whole flavor thing, basically they were taking away from like negative connotation cards like religiously affiliated cards,
right,
like Remove Soul, Wrath of God.
Right.
Like, they were getting... That's the reason they did it, not to sell packs.
Right. At least that's what they say.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Actually, I was
I don't think that was a. I don't think making people buy essence scatters was
yeah, it was that blip isn't gonna show up on their end of the year.
Correct.
Yeah. I actually was on the Magic TCG Reddit recently.
Okay.
To message the mods about something, and the like 2 of the top 20 posts or whatever were about how like one was a kid's parents think he's like practicing witchcraft and like in the occult, and
Yeah.
the other one was like my principal just banned it in my private Catholic high school because it's evil. It's just like these people still exist. Like this is still a thing.
When I was in junior high, my grade school, I went to a Catholic grade school, and they banned it as well.
That's insane. The guy actually the guy who said they banned it in his school actually said that the article that the principal quoted was the original one from like 1995 about how this game is evil.
Oh, nice.
It's just like, really, dude, that was 20 years ago. You're gonna
right.
you're gonna just go along.
Yeah,
with
I wasn't born. Like the kid could be like, I wasn't born when this article was made.
Yeah, it's true. How insane is that?
Yeah, that's like, yeah, that stuff is crazy. Like, but like, there are a lot of misunderstandings about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure if you got a level-headed kid, and be just like explain to like, hey, this is what the game's actually about, and it's actually like, just as strategically deep as like chess or whatever, and things that you should be like supporting,
right,
then they'd be okay with it. But like, I mean, I remember at the time, like, I didn't really play much like during school anyway. Like, I never brought my cards to school. It was just something I did after school and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I didn't give it, I didn't care.
Yeah. Well, it's weird for me because my high school had a Magic club, which obviously I didn't go to because like I was a big time pro, but
yeah.
And then I like moved to Pennsylvania, and here it's basically the South, like it's like Kentucky, and
I've lived it. My family's from like semi-rural Ohio.
Sure. Yeah, it's basically exactly the same. Yeah.
Amish country.
Yeah, there's like a lot. Yeah, there's like a lot of Amish, a lot of rednecks, and like a lot of like families that have lived in the same house for 3 generations and have never seen another country.
Yeah.
And they have a magic club at their high school.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So what? I mean, I understand that then Catholic schools are another level, like, step up of just, like, ignorance, but it's still just absurd to me. Maybe I'm just naive.
Right. Yeah, the whole like banning magic in schools is just like, very backwoods Southy.
Yeah, it's pretty comically ignorant. But whatever, can't solve all the ignorance in the world. And if
speaking of demonic cards, let's defang some people.
This card is kind of violent imagery.
Right.
The blood all over his face and the pained look.
Right. This is the type of card that would get Magic banned from school.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm surprised they've done such a good job at like going away from that, making it more PC, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, have you followed the controversy over the
There's some other card, yeah.
Yeah, the Garg Liliana,
but not, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it briefly, but
he's getting choked or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's just like super male dominant and suggestive, and it's surprising to me that stuff like that gets through. I mean, it very rarely does, but it's surprising me that it still does because they've done such a good job of
Right.
sort of
And I
cleaning up
feel
the
like
game.
they should continue to make the game more mainstream,
Yeah, for sure.
appealing. Like I hate I mean, a lot of people still think it's, a bunch of 40-year-old dudes living in their parents' basement
Yep.
or whatever.
It's D&D syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't get that. Like there are some I mean, like I tell everybody I've met the best people I know and the worst people I know playing Magic.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
mean, like the
so there is some of that, but I feel like that's the overwhelming stereotype. And cards with art like Defang, definitely play into that stereotype instead of getting away from that stereotype.
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, there's also like uh it's I have less of a problem with cards like this for that reason than like cards that are like basically legends. Like cards that are like trying to tell a story
Right, right.
makes me feel like I'm in a D&D game. And
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like something like this, yeah, this Avacyn. Obviously, the art is far more important on Avacyn
yeah.
than it is on Defang.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you have a lot more to play for on the big cards.
Yeah. And yeah, those connotations are definitely like hurting Magic. So anything that can even be pointed to as a possible reason
Mm-hmm.
for Magic being for mouth breathing neckbeards
Right.
is like kind of frustrating for me because I mean I've taught a lot of people like what Magic is and how to play and why it's interesting, and it's like frustrating to see something that could potentially color somebody's views in that direction.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I think
mean,
that
on the flip side, however, you get the stuff like the Twilight stuff is very graphic and hugely popular.
yeah.
I'm not really an expert on any of that stuff, but
Don't lie.
I have absolutely not seen any of the Twilight movies.
Yeah, because you're waiting to finish the third book.
Not quite.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I don't know anything about it, but like I know it's huge, and I know that shortly after it was known that it was a huge hit, we had a werewolf and vampire and zombie themed set, which is awesome. Like
right about the time you can start developing something.
yeah,
like
exactly.
That.
Like good on WotC for doing that, and that's why I don't.
That's the type of stuff you can capitalize, but it doesn't have to necessarily be. It doesn't have to be you don't want to turn off the basically the Bible thumpers.
Yeah. Yep. So let's talk about Magic cards.
All right. So this card is
This is one of the cards.
Basically pacifism.
Yeah. This is one of the cards that when I was talking to Patrick Sullivan, we were commenting on how many cards have come out recently that were just like, wait, that doesn't already exist. Like just very intuitive designs.
Yeah.
Our prime example was Deathwind, like BX minus X minus X.
Right.
Like, how has that card not already existed?
Yeah, we've played Magic for 15 years or whatever. That card seems like a nice twist on whatever.
And they've danced around it so much.
Right.
With like Black Sun Zenith and Disembowel and Last Gasp and so when we saw it, we're just like, why? I mean, it makes perfect sense. I feel like this is one of those cards because there's always those like ghostly points or whatever in like
that are just like
there's one in every set.
Yeah, they have too much text.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I was waiting.
And honestly, when I first read this card, I thought this card was like the same thing.
Yep. But not only did they drop,
this was just like one of those, hey, another million bad pacifisms.
Right. And
it is a bad pacifism still.
Right, but it's way better. And like
it's much closer to pacifism. There's a lot of room below pacifism for a card to be good.
Right. And the other ones were like it had this extra line of text, right, that prevented the damage dealt to it also,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
was like either for flavor reasons or to imply that you're supposed to play it on your own guy, which
Right.
then you get into the argument of why auras that don't have a huge impact are horrible. Because it's like a huge opportunity cost, right? Like it's a huge potential investment, or it's a huge investment that it could like potentially be wrought for like very little potential upside.
Yeah.
And so like 99% of the time you're playing it on their guy, in which case then they have this thing that like the card is designed for you to give yourself
Put
and you're
on your
giving it
own
to
guy.
them.
Yeah.
And so they just dropped the part of the text that for all sane players was actually just a drawback. And
Right.
since the card was like basically for a different purpose or for flavor reasons or whatever, they were able to even drop a mana while cutting the drawback.
Right. And make this card, yeah, very excellent.
Yeah, it's like actually extremely playable,
Hmm.
which is awesome. Defy Death. This art is like super cheesy but super badass.
Right.
Like an angel actually squaring off with a demon, and they both have their swords, and they're just like huger than everything
Right.
else around them. That's just sweet.
Yeah, they might as well have lightsabers.
Yeah, yeah. Defy Death. It reanimates something and makes counters. Well, that's sweet. Um, I definitely like white.
This was in my sealed deck, and I reanimated an angel 100% of the time.
Are there a lot of angels? It seems like there are.
There are. Nearly every white creature is either a human or an angel.
Sweet. Well, I mean, this
Yeah.
thing, I was gonna say, I really like reanimation in white.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think flavorfully it works really well, and it adds a lot more like interesting gameplay when using it to like recast your best guy. You know, you're using it as another Baneslayer rather than using it to cheat out a Jin Cataxius.
yes, yes. And that's how it plays in limited.
Which I like a lot.
Yeah, this card is excellent in limited. I feel fits into the white deck. Like basically makes you naturally want to play this card.
Mm-hmm.
The type of decks you're going to build when you're white are very good. Defy Death is very good in them, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
I would like it in constructed if it was 1 mana cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that's what
Yeah.
white reanimation is. Like they don't want it to be
Yeah, they don't want to be
cheaty.
better than black.
Yeah,
reanimation
exactly.
For whatever reason.
Exactly. And I mean, well,
But I
because
always like the solar flare type decks that would just not reanimate stuff that they could cast everything they were going to reanimate.
yeah,
Basically.
you mean original solar flare like compulsive research and
Yeah,
signets
compulsive
and
research, Kakusha.
Kakushos. Yeah,
They
yeah,
never
for
worked
sure.
out. You never discarded Kakusha to compulsive research to zombify it.
Yeah.
You always cast the Kakusha.
That
let it
happened.
die,
That
and
happened for like
zombified it then.
that happened for like a week when the deck came out because people didn't know that it was capable of it.
Right.
And then once people
just
realized
thought you were
that,
supposed to cheat out these, dragons at the insane discount of 2 mana.
yeah, and then they realized that that like that's a key thing that could happen, and so they just like held up their remand or whatever, and it was never worth it.
Yeah. The other thing is the original deck had smallpox in it.
Oh yeah, it did.
Like really weird flagstones. Like it was a smallpox deck more than anything.
It's so weird
Yeah.
because everyone remembers it as the other one.
Right.
This like
The
tap out big
Esper
mana control
tap out
deck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically.
weird. Anyway, I really like the flavor of white
Yeah, this card's really cool.
reanimation.
Glad it exists.
Yep. Devout Chaplain. All right. I'm on board for a Null Mage Shepherd.
Basically, yeah. And that's what it is. It does what it does.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of, like, I would have killed to have one of these in my sealed deck.
There
I'm
were
not gonna
I know there's like a decent number of like good auras, but I haven't done artifacts yet. Are there a lot? I mean, you said you died to some equipment.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of like middling equipments that you'd want this for?
Not particularly.
Okay.
Um, there are a lot of there is a cycle of artifacts that cycle.
All right.
So that this has nothing against.
Right.
There's some equipment like it's obviously much better in sealed deck because everybody's going to play the majority of the artifacts they do get.
Right.
There's at least one middling equipment that I know of.
All right. I
But
guess I'll get to that when I do the
yeah,
artifacts. I think that it's cool having a card like this, kind of like the Thraben Sentry or whatever. Just like guys that are just fine, and then if they do something, it's like super awesome value
yeah,
town.com.
exactly. Like the baseline of this is a gray ogre, and that's a fine
Yeah, it's
baseline to
totally
have.
fine. Yeah.
Like you're obviously not going to play it because it's a gray ogre. You're playing it for the text,
Right. Well, you're playing it
even though
because
it
it's a
won't
gray
come
ogre
up
and with the
happen.
text, right? Like you wouldn't play this if it was a 1/1 with that text, and you wouldn't play
Right.
this if it didn't have the text but was still a 2/2. So it's like,
Exactly. You need both.
yeah, it's just a
And I
solid
like
card.
cards like that.
Yeah, same.
There's
It's
even cards like this, like Defang and this Authority or whatever. It's gonna get stuff like that a lot.
yeah, yeah, fair. Divine Deflection.
I had this in my sealed deck.
Oh wait, before we talk about that, one thing about the chaplain that's cool is I want to do stuff like attack with a bunch of things and they block with some auraed guy thinking I can't use this, and then I like blink and untap a human.
Okay.
I'm just every single card I see now in white, I'm like thinking about how I can blink it.
How do you blink?
Yeah,
Get them.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, Divine Deflection. Prevent the next damage that would be dealt to you and or permanents you control this turn. And then it targets anything you want.
This is a Shining Shoal that works for
All
all
of it.
sources.
Right.
That you have to pay for.
That is, I mean, that's pretty insane.
It's insane and limited. I put my
Yeah.
opponent on 8, had 9 lands in play, and he could not win.
It's the best like fog possible, right?
Yeah, it's
And then it
it's
has
good at
applications for like just randomly 2-for-1, like divine or what's that card called?
Harm's
Core chant.
yeah, Core Champ.
It can like core chant, or it can like outright win a race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little overcosted at low mana costs. This is 3 mana for Harm's Way.
Sure, but I mean,